Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Vanta, and welcome back for another episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Films. And today we have a very frequent guest with us. Thomas, you wanna?
It is I, Thomas Rose, the hostess with the mostest. I'm gonna start saying that, I guess.
No, that's great.
And from Thomas's Classic Tens
Yeah,
at Mondays at 5 on UIC Radio, Music and Culture Ignite, because I know you gotta say that. This is so weird hearing your own voice while also hearing your own voice. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, I don't know. I'm not used to the podcaster setup. I'm always in the other room.
No, for sure. Because I don't think you guys have that over there. I think it also took me a while to get used to it. If you guys got confused, we were talking about like the setting with the headphones and the mic and everything. Because the podcast room is still relatively new. They only have it last semester, like spring semester. And then when I was first using it, I was like, oh, this is really cool hearing my own voice. But then sometimes I'm like, this is a bit too much. Like I genuinely sometimes I do the episode without the headphone because I'm like, I don't want to hear my voice today. But yeah, but anyways, today me and Thomas are gonna talk about one of probably the best movies that came out this year, which is kind of crazy because I don't feel like it's been this year. I thought it was like genuinely like last year or something. But we're going to be talking about Sinners. It's a fantastic film by Ryan Coogler. Coogler? Did I say that right?
Yeah, I think you did.
Yeah. Fantastic director. I love his work. And yeah, do we have any starting thought? Because I mean, I just love it. Top
It's
to
such
bottom.
a good movie. It's like Ryan Coogler. He did Black Panther. He did some other
Yeah.
stuff, and it's just like everything he makes is really well done, real well researched, well placed. Every
Yeah.
setting, every like cultural like mechanism. I don't know. It's really good. I really enjoy what he does.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I think that we need more director like him that just really know how to place priority on, like you said, like cultural aspect and everything like that. Especially when you can see that he put so much respect and so much work into everything that he does. Like I mean, just right off the bat, you mean like Sinners? I honestly, my first impression was I know that it was like a vampire movie, and I was like, okay, vampires movie back in was it the 30s, 40s?
Yeah, 30s.
Yeah, vampire movies in the 30s. I didn't really know what to expect. I came in kind of blind. I was like, okay, I know it's a vampire movie. A lot of people came in without knowing it's a vampire movie, which I know would be a trip for them. But for me, I came in and I was like, I did not expect any of the cultural stuff that he dived into. A lot of the African American cultural history and
the music, especially
the
blues.
music, the characters, the story, everything was just so deep rooted into the history of African American people or just African people. And I just think that it was so beautiful. It was just such a great surprise for me to not only learn, but also like to sort of absorb that I don't know. It's just like a lot of beautiful stuff that was going on, and the lessons that I got from there. Yeah, that's yeah. Do you want to add on anything to
Yeah,
that?
I mean, you really hit the nail on the head. The cultural significance, the way that like they kind of interplay that and like the monster aspect with like the
Yeah.
vampires and stuff. I thought it was really nice. I just really enjoy Sinners. It's just such a great like because it's a period piece, but it's also a monster movie, but it's
Yeah.
like also like a commentary on like stuff happening today. Like it's just everything.
Yeah.
It's okay. I was gonna say like a big fancy word, then I forgot what I was trying to say, like omniscient or something.
Yeah.
It's really good. I think it's a great movie. Like I said earlier, I probably should have watched it again before we did this because it's like it's not like as fresh for me as like it should be, and I'm also like running on fumes a little bit, but.
No, real. I also watched it. I think it was premiered in March. Like you guys know, I pirate all my films, so I watched it in I think April or May. But I remember watching it during summer, and also it's been a while. It's kind of crazy saying it out loud. It's been like 4 or 5 months,
Yeah,
even
it's been a
more.
while since
Yeah,
it came
it's
out.
so crazy for me because time is not real. And I do remember right after I watched it, I had a lot of thoughts. I put in Letterbox, but I think I just put in like something funny, one liner like, "Oh my God, to Michael B. Jordan, sign me up," or something like that. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but
That's one of the best aspects that he
it's so
plays
cool.
two people.
No, it's so
He
cool.
plays two people. I
Yeah.
love that part. It's so cool.
The scenes that they do with, both of him on this scene together and interacting, like
The
actually,
Michaels.
yeah, the Michaels like passing each other a blunt or like a cigarette or anything like that. I'm like, I don't know how they do it, but it just seems so seamless. And it doesn't like if I saw this and I didn't know Michael B. Jordan had a twin, I'd be like, okay, yeah, no, that's normal. But like
That's his twin.
yeah, but like seeing it, knowing that he doesn't have a twin, and they probably have to do a lot of post production or just some very clever filming. I'm like, this is great.
Yeah, like how the hell did they do that? Like, did they just film every scene twice with him as one and then him as the other?
Yeah. I
Is that-
assume that they would have to obviously like practice all of the action before, and then he had to do very specific actions, specific angles and all of it like that. I assume that it's probably a few takes and it's just a lot of creative camera work and directing work, which I mean Ryan is such an amazing director. I would love to meet him one day. He's probably one of my new favorite directors. I'm very looking forward to his new projects. But yeah, I personally, as somebody who really evaluate seeing cultural aspect and history in films, and because like I also really want to put cultural aspect into my product later on, I just love seeing that some of it well done, because a lot of the stuff that we see, especially like stuff back in 1780s, they're pretty distasteful when it comes to African American or just like any minorities. They are shown very distasteful. They're fit into stereotypes, and as a person of minority, right? Like I really appreciate seeing other minority or just my own being showed in media in a very like respectful way.
Yeah, and it's something that I've been thinking about with Sinners is that like as like growing up with like American movies and stuff, like there are basically, I feel, very few depictions of African American community between the end of the Civil War and the Civil Rights Movement. There's so few movies. I mean, like think about like a movie that is about like racial struggle that's not either Civil War, like like Django, that kind of movie, or like civil rights, like Selma, that kind of movie. Like I mean, there's I think Ryan Coogler also did the Jackie Robinson movie. I'm not sure.
I haven't heard of that one.
41 or whatever it was. I forgot the name of it. But there's that, and that I feel like is basically it. I guess Hidden Figures was about like pre like civil rights. So I mean, possibly that. It's just like I think that is a very unexplored part of American history in film. Like there's just very few depictions of like non-white community during the 20s, 30s, 40s. There's just not a lot.
Yeah. And I don't know, I just think that it's great that we see more of it now, that a lot of filmmakers and directors are finally deciding that, you know what, I'm actually gonna make a film about that, especially because of how African Americans were treated back then. Obviously like very poorly. People still see them as everything less than a human being, and there are very also like subtle sort of not very subtle, honestly, I feel like that's a bad choice of word, but there are very clear evidence of segregation even in the film, with especially with the two supermarkets of the Asian parents.
Yes,
That
they
was
go
really-
across
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
street between their two different like segregated like one supermarkets for white shoppers. That was really
That was, yeah, for me that was really interesting, because I mean I don't grow up in America, right? I don't study a lot about American history. I know slavery was obviously a very big thing, but I didn't know that, Asian American people back then, they were shop owners, because I heard somewhere that they were, light enough to be considered as, you know, not one of, but like similar to white people so that they can be shopkeepers for the white store, but also they're also a minority, so that also makes them suitable to be shopkeepers also for African American people. And I was like, that was probably like so like new to me. Like genuinely I never thought about that. I didn't know for sure. I didn't know at all, period. But that was just like that one scene of the shop owners of that family just going back and forth. That was like so powerful to me, and I was like, yeah, that speaks a lot.
Yeah, I think something that's not talked about a lot is that during like the period of segregation, like people who weren't either white or black finding themselves in like this like middle zone.
Yeah.
You know, I watched some, I forgot what it was. It might have been like a YouTube documentary, something like that, about like segregation against like Latino people in like California and New Mexico during the like 30s and 40s, and like they call it like there was a race riot in Los Angeles around that time because of World War II, because they were like basically discriminating against Latinos, but also because Latinos weren't black, they were drafting them into the military. So that was they had these things called like Zoot Suit riots in response to that, which was reference to like this kind of like petticoat that Latino men at the time liked to wear, where there was like a, I don't know, I'm going on a big tangent here, but it's the history of like segregation in America is like really like a lot more complex when it comes to like how people outside of the binary you know experienced it, and I think that it's something that needs to be explored more.
No, for sure, because I very recently I've been watching a lot of those, you know, like those mini documentary on YouTube, especially from Vice. I think they made pretty good documentary videos. I watched this one where it's a museum of racism, like a museum full of racist propaganda products and everything like that.
Like minstrel stuff?
No. I don't know how to describe it, but a lot of like posters from back then
Okay, I
that
see what you mean.
like, you know, just paint African American people in a very like racist way, a very stereotypical way, and even like I saw this one cup that they have in the museum where it's just like a black woman that has a very big like bottom, and they use that as like a ashtray or something. And I was
Jesus.
just, yeah, either that or it was her breast, either the two. But I was just like, that's so insane to me that, you know, people sit in a factory and make them with a straight face, you know?
Yeah, a lot of those things, like, and if you go to like rural, like America, like middle of nowhere, and you go to like flea markets or yard sales, people still have stuff like that. Like, it's common.
Which is crazy that, you know, even just the idea that it's so much of them and people still have it now. The idea of a racist museum, and the fact that they have so many products enough to open a museum, and it's I don't remember which university it was in, but it's I think it was a pretty big college. It's just so absurd to me. But yeah, I'm just so happy that there is still films being made about these problems, and even though that people are like, well, it's like a fantasy film, it's vampire and everything like that, it's not quote unquote realistic because there's, you know, vampires. I don't think that should turn you away from the fact that this was a very real commentary on stuff that was happening back then.
Definitely. No, the social aspect is like massive, and it's definitely like kind of underappreciated.
I also think that it's a very smart way to not only sort of like spoon fed those like commentary to people who are a little bit more ignorant, because, you know, they can see it as a fantasy film and they can be like, oh, this is about vampires, let's see what it, you know, like I did. I was like, it's a vampire movie, it's a period film of vampire, let's see. And then, you know, I got a lot of lessons on segregation and stuff that was happening back then that I didn't know. I was like, this is so cool, this is so interesting, I'm so interested to learn more. So hopefully it does have the same effect to like other people who are like, okay, it's a vampire movie, let's see.
Yeah, it's definitely a way for people to learn more. It's really like I do. There's such a need for that kind of media because I feel like it's something that is not practiced much anymore. Of media that has a lesson, but it's not on the nose.
Yeah.
It leads you into it. And because it's not on the nose, it allows the watcher to like kind of get the beginning, middle, and end of the lesson they're trying to
Yeah.
convey. Which, yeah, in the case of Sinners is like learning about segregation, just the like awful impact it had on society at the time. And I think that it's also a lesson on cultural appropriation.
No,
That's
for sure.
a huge part of the movie. I mean, the fact that the vampires, they're Irish and they want to literally steal this kid so they can use him to like summon like their literal Klansmen. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of a play on words, but it's like because like Irish people they're in clans. That's like their family structure,
Mhm.
and so they're like, yeah, we're gonna use this guy and he's gonna bring our old clan back, which is kind
Yeah.
of it's kind of a play on words, but it's like I don't know. It's really definitely a way where if somebody is like not understanding cultural appropriation and they're like, I don't get what that is. That doesn't make sense to me. Why are people upset about it? And then they watch that, it's like, oh, like they get it, you know?
Right. No, for sure. I think cultural appropriation is such a huge problem even now. And I do want to make an entire episode about it just because there are so many pop culture moments where I'm like, it's so distasteful.
Mhm.
I don't know how people like look back at it and decided like it's okay. But just for like one example, one of the I think last year or very recently this year, this is one like K-pop girl group called Kiss of Life. And what they decided to do for one of their members' birth party was to have a quote unquote hip hop theme where they dressed up in like okay, maybe the way that they dressed up was like can be considered as like hip hop, but like to everybody else, it just looks very like they're trying to mimic black women. And then one of the member was even speaking in like slangs and all of that, and I was like, everybody was like, "This is horrible," and
That's
they
really cringy.
it's really bad. But cultural appropriation is such a bad thing, and obviously it's such a bad thing. But also which kind of brings me to the character of Mary and how she's like a white woman, but I think she was
Haley Steinfeld.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. She's a white woman, but I think she was a quarter black.
Something like that.
Yeah.
She was in the black community of the town though.
Yeah,
That was
yeah,
like her character arc.
So that was very interesting too, because not only do we learn about, these white people and black people in Sinners, but we also learn about who's in between of them. You
Yeah.
know, mixed race.
Which definitely leans like I said, like that third space outside the binary segregation, and how like a lot of people like didn't know
Yeah.
where to be because of this paradigm that completely dominated society for literally 100 years.
Yeah.
It's really crazy to think about.
No, for sure. And it's also, I just realized how many representation there was in the film, because not only we have I'm so happy to see a very largely African American cast too.
Definitely a lot
Yeah.
of talent that I didn't like know about before watching. And I do want to correct myself. It's not even that paradigm exists today. Like me saying that kind of downplays the fact that it's like still a thing. It is 100% still a thing in this country. But I mean, go on. I didn't mean to distract from your point.
But yeah, I was just saying the representation. You have the Asian Americans, you have the African American, you have like an Irish man, you have biracial people, you have indigenous people right at the start too. You have indigenous people.
I thought that was so such a funny bit where they were
Yeah.
like, we know what this is and we're not messing with it.
Exactly. We're getting the heck out of here, and we never see them for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, they're like, we're done. F
Exactly.
this, we're out.
This is why you should listen to indigenous people. They're correct.
Exactly.
You know, like, don't let no burning Irishmen in your house, especially if like indigenous people are like, yeah, there's a dangerous guy, like, and you're just like let him out, but they just don't listen to him.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is also like how, kind of lesson how like racism will get you nowhere.
I'm in a class right now about like Native American history, and it's like insane how much like knowledge Native society had about like how like the entire ecosystem like North America worked, like how everything functioned. And it's like so many people like defend like colonization and be like, well, they didn't have this or they didn't have that, and it's because they the focus of Native American society was literally, well, not, and I don't want to like put any blanket statements down, but like the knowledge that people had of how the ecosystem worked and how stuff like that. So I feel like that movie commentates on that a little bit,
Hmm.
because they're like, we know what this is. It's a function of nature. You shouldn't mess with it.
Yeah.
And it's like it's knowledge. It's ethnography. It's a way of knowing. So I
Yeah.
thought that was a really interesting like aspect of the movie.
No, for sure. I think I think Ryan definitely wanted to highlight that by having them be the first people to know about the Irish guy being the vampire. Honestly, like I keep saying Irish guy because I also kind of forgot his character's name.
Yeah, it was like Sean or something. I don't know.
Yeah, something.
All Irish dudes are named Sean.
Right. No, for sure. Jacksepticeye.
Right.
But yeah, but it's just so great to see all of these representation on my screen, and all of them were just beautifully written. Every single character, I don't care. Like it's just so, you can tell that this was made with so much love and care, and I just think that in the midst of having so many mass-produced sequels, prequels, and everything like that, is so refreshing to actually see an original piece.
And not only an original piece, but an original piece that's one and done. It has a self-contained story.
Exactly.
I mean, what would a sequel even be like? Would it be Michael B. Jordan's other character and Haley Steinfeld going around and eating
just
people?
like living in shadows and not doing anything.
Like, it just wouldn't. There's no. Even though they I feel like they do leave a possibility for one. I don't think there will be a sequel.
No,
and I
for
don't think
sure.
it needs one. I think that is absolutely a perfect like one and done. Which is actually, I wanted to bring up, excuse me, Jordan Peele and his filmmaking, because I feel like he also focuses a lot on like
yeah.
a lot of cultural knowledge, and B, the art of the one and done.
Yeah.
Like and I guess you could consider Nope, Us, and like, what was the last one? Get Out. Yeah, Get Out,
yeah.
Nope, and Us. They could be considered like a trilogy, but they're also self-contained stories. And I
Yeah.
think that's it's really like it's something so nice about not having a franchise that needs constant updates and announcements about who's acting in it. Robert Downey Jr. is
Right.
back. Like, it's so nice that there are filmmakers who make consistently good pieces that don't need to be connected in like a franchise.
Yeah. No, and thank you so much for bringing up Jordan Peele, because that reminded me of how great that man is. He's such a talented filmmaker, and honestly, also just like Ryan, I am very looking forward to his new films. I also watched Nope for the first time during the summer. Loved it. It was amazing.
I think it might be one of my favorite movies like of all time. Honestly,
I mean,
it's up there.
I cannot believe how underrated it was. I think out of all of the 3 films that he had made, I think Nope might be like the most underrated out of all of them, which is really crazy to me.
That's crazy. So it gets the lowest like scores and stuff.
I don't think it gets lower scored. I just don't see it. People talk about it.
That's true.
Obviously, like Get Out was very successful for good reasons. Us was also very successful, but then when Nope came out, I feel like people didn't talk about it that much.
No, although
as
I do
much.
see references to Nope like sometimes, but definitely, which I think Nope, I feel like had the best message out of all of them. Not out of all of them. Get Out had a really good message, but Nope definitely had like, I think, one of the better messages. I'm gonna like say I didn't really get what Us was about. Like, it was good, but the message wasn't really the same.
Yeah.
Like, because Nope the message is really clear. It's about spectacle. It's about the idea of like capturing life on film. Because literally at the start, it's like the first ever moving picture, the horse and the jockey.
Yeah.
And then at the end, it's like the, slowly moving like manual camera capturing the alien. The alien they name after a horse too, so it's just like all
Jean
the
Jacket.
exactly, and it's like, which, okay, I had a friend who thought, he was like, oh, I don't like Get Out that much because he's like, if a movie's really good, you can name at least one of the characters from the movie, and I was like, okay, well, if that's the case, I can name Jean Jacket. And
Right.
I know it's not Get Out, that's Nope, but I was like defending Jordan Peele movies as a whole to him. I was like, Jordan Peele still makes really good movies because I could remember characters from Nope. I remember who that is,
Yeah.
But that's besides the point. I just wanted to say, my friend is dumb. I love him, but he's dumb. Jordan Peele movies are awesome.
Yeah.
Nope was about spectacle and the fact that people will risk their lives to make a good piece of media.
Right.
And then Get Out, of course, also about cultural appropriation in a way, I feel, and also like the fetishization of like black people's like like bodies.
Exactly.
But Us, I just didn't really get it.
I haven't watched Us in a while, so I can't really comment on that. But, that kind of remind me of how much similarity we have between Get Out and Sinners, just because of that, like you said, that quote unquote, the fetishization of black people, which I think is really interesting, because we keep seeing a lot, back in like older movies, we see a lot of, especially black women, they are sexualized so much, right? Like even when I talked about that one sculpture or statue with a black lady with her sensitive part being very much exaggerated, and I just want to point out how in Sinners they make all of the black women, first of all of them are so lovely, great characters, but also I just want to talk a little bit about the sex scenes, the intimate scenes in that film, because they are so intimate in like the best way. They are by no means sexualized at all, and I'm so happy to see an intimate scene that is truly like it fits so well into the theme. Because I also like a few weeks before I was just talking about 50 Shades of Grey, and how like I was just like, if you're gonna make a trilogy all about sex and mature themes, your sex scene is supposed to be good. But then for Sinners, obviously it's not a film about that at all.
No, but that is an important aspect, and they make it like I totally get what you mean, because they make it like important to the plot, which I feel like, like Oppenheimer. Why did there have to be a sex scene in Oppenheimer?
Right.
It doesn't make any sense with that. But with Sinners, they justify it. They're like, this is how that plays into everything, and it makes it like a part of the movie that you actually are like not. Because 9 times out of 10 when I watch a movie and there's a sex scene, I'm just kind of like turned off.
Exactly.
I'm like, what am I looking at? But Sinners, they made it work. They really did.
No, for sure. Because I really, especially the part where Stack meet up with his, I don't know if they broken up, but like his wife, right? And they just met up for the first time, and then they get intimate, and I was like, this is beautiful. Because I think it's, obviously like intimacy, sex is probably like one of the best way to show intimacy between two characters, and the fact that they have it during these two character sort of reunion, that speaks a lot of like how they feel about each other.
This is true. Like you have so much importance like for your brother or whatever, but then you're also going off and doing this
Exactly.
or for your cousins, I mean, because isn't that the relationship between like the main kid and then like Smoke and Stack?
The main character is Sammy. I don't remember the actor's name. Let me go to Letterboxd real quick, because I really want to shout out his name, because he did such an amazing job for his character. The song and everything, like he sings really well.
Oh yeah, the post credits, I mean, come on.
Oh god. And then I also seen him like perform live at like some event.
You saw him live?
No, perform live somewhere.
Oh, you saw like a video of him doing
Yeah.
that. Okay. I was gonna say, if you'd seen that, oh my god.
No, I would say that the first thing we recorded this. But let's see, it was Miles Canton. Yes.
Okay,
Miles, if you're listening to the any chance, you are incredible, because
rock star.
Insane. I think this was
also, I liked how when his character Sammy got super old, he was played by Buddy Guy. I thought that was great.
Oh yeah, I think he's a real blues.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's quite literally like one of the last ones alive from that era. So like one of the last like proper like 50s, 60s blues musicians still alive.
Yeah.
And he got to be in this movie, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, I heard something about that too, but that's absolutely beautiful. I mean, it's Ryan Coogler. I'm not surprised. Yeah.
It just goes to show how much love and care Ryan Coogler has for the subjects he does his movies about, because like you could tell like he loves music. He loves
Exactly,
the
yeah.
blues. He had so much love for it making this movie. I just thought it was amazing.
He's such an amazing person. He's very passionate. You can see that too. I mean, I say this all the time, but you can, when you watch a film, you can definitely see if a director does it for the money or they just genuinely want to do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, especially for example with Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh,
I
yeah.
truly believe that I have not seen anything like that. It's one of the films that I watched and inspired me to become a filmmaker. And the same thing with Sinners, but I will say for Sinners, this is one very specific scene where I watched it, I had tears in my eye, and I was just like, it just like motivated me even more, which is the singing scene
Mhm.
where Sammy was singing the song "I Lie to You," where there was like versions of generations.
Yeah, the ancestors and then his
Holy
descendants
cow.
and then yeah. I wish I know it probably wouldn't have been like that serious, but I did wish they had shown someone from like further in the future like dancing with them with like
Yeah.
one of those like Apple headsets. Not an Apple
Apple
headset, but you know what I mean, like some kind
Honestly,
of futuristic.
Yeah, but honestly, I like the fact that Ryan did include that because I feel like that would
Yeah.
kind of ruin the sort of rawness of it.
That is true. It would ruin it a little bit. When I was watching that, I was thinking about that though. I was
But
like,
that
I
would be
wonder
funny.
if
That
there
would have
was
been
a
funny.
future. But yeah, probably not good to play it off.
Like
for,
somebody with
for a
meta
bit.
glasses at the corner of the room or something like that. I don't know. That would be funny. But I saw that scene, and first of all, it was one shot, right? And the fact that all of these people from the past, from the present, from the future, they just slowly trickles in into the frame.
Yeah.
And the way that it was so flawlessly shot and set, and I was just like in awe the entire time. It was just so beautiful to me, and I just love that because again, as somebody who really values traditions and culture from, you know, my own culture and everything like that, it's just beautiful. It's just such a great way to honor that. A great way to honor who you are, your roots. And, you know, like Ryan is Ryan. He also included a lot of, I think it was tribal I don't know if they're actually tribal members. I mean, they could be as Ryan, but you know, tribal members with their dance, with their signature look and outfit.
Oh yeah, during that scene,
Yeah,
yes,
and everything
yes.
like that.
Mhm.
Even there were Chinese dancers for the
Yeah, when it
Chinese
showed the family,
American
yeah.
couples. I was just like, this and the music. I heard the music and I was just like, absolute cinema. I had my what was the director's name that did this meme? I forgot.
Ryan Coogler.
No. The This is Cinema meme.
Oh, Peak Cinema. Oh
Yeah.
God, I think it was Scorsese.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I forgot his name for a minute, but I had my Scorsese moment watching that. It was so I could write an entire essay about that because, you know, even the mixing of the music. I think Ludwig, is it Ludwig that worked on this? But I went on like a rabbit hole one day searching about like score artists that makes film scores, and there's so many great people, and I was just like, this is amazing. This is a world that, you know, I never dabble into, so it's really interesting. But you know, you were talking about the score a little bit earlier. It was just spectacular. The music,
The music is so good.
it's so fantastic.
It works so well with the visuals too.
Mm.
I saw this in the theater, and it just like when they got to that scene, I felt like I was like lifting out of my chair.
Oh, yeah, for
honestly,
sure.
like I felt like I was on another level. It was amazing.
For sure. And then it's so like, obviously, like I haven't watched a lot of films, you know, that are set in the 30s and everything like that. But, you know, when they were talking about having a juke joint,
Yeah,
I was going to say jukebox. I'm like, I
A
don't think that's
jukebox.
correct. Talking about like a juke joint and then
Mhm.
like all of the songs and the way they perform. I'm like, I have never seen anything like this before. And I genuinely feel like this is such a new world for me, and this is such a great introduction to it.
yeah,
for
definitely.
For people who don't know, you know, Black culture as well as I do, or people who aren't informed about, I didn't even know Jukjong was a thing back then.
Yeah, I've only heard that term a couple times. I back when I lived in Kansas City, we had like a public access TV, and one of the public access like channels was for like a local community college, and there was a lady who had a show on that. It was
Yeah.
called like I think like Elsie's Juke Joint or something, and she would play old blues videos. It was really cool.
Yeah. No, it's so cool. And I don't know, I just love the idea that we have so many genres in one film. It's a commentary on history, it's a commentary on cultural. It's also like have amazing music. It's not a musical. I wouldn't say it's a musical.
No, no.
But yeah, it has amazing original songs, amazing scores. It has obviously fantasy like not sci-fi, but it has fantasies, vampires.
Right. And I
Um,
mean, we could also we haven't even mentioned like the action and like the quality of the choreography and like the
Oh,
fights and
yeah,
stuff like
yeah,
that
that
because
was-
that's quality.
it was really interesting to see, especially during the fight between the two Michael B. Jordans.
Yeah, they have to fight each other. I mean, how do they do that? How do
Right.
they even do that? I know it's like filmed two different versions or whatever, but I
Yeah.
it's amazing because 9 times out of 10 when they do something like that in a movie, it ends up looking like garbage, and in this one, it looked amazing.
It is.
I have no idea how they pulled that off. It's so amazing.
It's spectacular, and I don't know, and I also think that it's the Sinners vampires also kind of unique. I love how their eyes look, because like when we watch vampires in like pop culture media, we have Twilight, Vampire's Diary. We always see like their eyes turning red or like a different color,
Mhm.
but in Sinners, their entire like eye, not just the iris, everything else just turns like this silver color. I think it was
Yeah.
also when they were under control by the Irish guy.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
it's
when they're like
also-
under control. Which I thought that it was also interesting that the movie never really confirms if they're like fully under that guy's control or not.
Yeah.
Because like that guy dies, but then I don't know if it was Smoke or Stack, but whoever in Haley Steinfeld are still
Smoke, yeah.
alive a million years later. Not a million, but a
Yeah.
lot of years later. So I thought that was so interesting.
Yeah.
That like you never exactly learn how the vampires work because you don't really need to. It's like
Exactly.
it doesn't need to be fully explained. So
Yeah.
many of those kind of movies like have to explain every single mechanic, and it's like sometimes you just got to leave something up to interpretation.
Exactly, yeah. It's really interesting. And I also really love Annie's character, which is Stack's wife.
Mhm.
Because I remember I was like, when I first saw her, she's a beautiful woman. But then after, I finished watching and I saw on TikTok, people were like, yeah, but she looks like his, like, as in like Stacks, like she looks like his auntie or like mom. And I'm like, are we watching the same movie? Like,
Right,
they
right.
complement each other so well. And which I think people saying that, which is kind of weird. Like, why would you even say that? Like, but I remember this one scene where she just goes, why can't you just walk inside? Why do you have to ask for permission? And she was like very smart. She sussed it out like, before anybody else did.
She knew immediately.
Yeah,
She was
exactly.
like, "Oh, these are freaking vampires."
Exactly. And then nobody questioned her. That's what I think is so
They
refreshing.
knew she had ball knowledge.
Exactly. Nobody was like, "What do you mean vampire? Like, what are you crazy?" Nobody was like that.
They're like, "Oh, friggin' vampires again."
Yeah, and it was so refreshing because in any like thriller, horror, or like sci-fi film, they're like, "No, what are you talking about? Like, I'm not, But then they immediately was like, "Okay, yeah, I believe her.
Mhm.
They're vampires."
They knew that she was knowledgeable. I thought that was really cool. It's like
Exactly.
because a lot of those kind of movies will play that off as like kind of a joke, like the
Yeah.
first person who realizes what it is. I mean, it's like sorry, I kind of yawned a little bit. It's like it reminded me of The Shining a little bit,
Mhm.
where the old like chef or whatever literally knows what's happening, and then he just kind of dies stupidly. You remember that part?
I haven't watched it in a while, so
Okay,
But-
yeah, but like the chef that like also has the Shining and like comes to save like the kid or whatever, and then he just dies stupidly.
right.
Exactly, and I feel like he's like played off for a joke, and this movie does justice by you said her name was I don't remember
Annie, yeah.
Annie. Okay, I don't remember the exact characters' names. So Yeah, no, you're totally right.
Yeah, it's really cool. But I think that she was also a representation of I think okay. Please somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was voodoo or something
Yeah.
with that does with sort of like magic and spiritual stuff. I might be using it wrong, but it was also really cool to see that too because it was a real thing.
Yeah, definitely. And I think
Yeah.
yeah, it's like spiritualist stuff is
Yeah.
probably like a better like blanket term. And like
Yeah.
the way that this movie like looked at like spiritualism, because I think that spiritualism is really demonized in a lot of like Western
Exactly.
films. So the fact that this movie took it like objectively is like, well, this is what it is. We're not
Exactly.
going to give it a connotation. We're just going to be like, well, this is what some people believe.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like open and shut. It's a belief system. And
Yeah.
I was on a rant about this earlier. The people shouldn't think that one belief system is superior to any other, because all belief systems are based in like this kind of reverence for the unknown.
Yeah.
So I just think that discrimination between them is just so dumb to me. If you're against belief systems at all, if you're like an atheist, that's one thing. But if you're of one belief system and you're like, well, mine is better than this other one, I'm going to make them look bad. It just doesn't, I just don't get it.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. It's just that thing, right? When we talk about superiority, which is speaking of, it's really cool that Ryan even outrighteously even show the KKK
Yeah, no.
with their hat and everything. I was just like, yeah,
And then the vampires just pack them up.
right. Like I was just like, yeah, that's exactly what it was back then. And it's like a lot of people are so scared of like showing it back, but it was such a huge thing back then, right? Like people know about it, and a lot of people just either ignorant and try to deny it, but that's exactly what happened back then. So I think it's really cool that Ryan just like shows it and be like, yep, they're racist.
Yeah, exactly. I thought it was really interesting too that the vampires also are like, they hate the Klan too, like the fact that vampires like killed the Klan, because like one thing that people don't like know in like history is that the Klan were also like against like Catholic like stuff. Like that was one of the groups they discriminated against. Like even white people who were like Catholics, they would like like try and like kill people like that. And like Irish people were a big target for them like back in that like time.
Yeah.
So the fact that Kugler showed that too,
Yeah.
it was a cool like another like like I said, like another dimension to like the quote unquote binary of how that worked.
Yeah, it was really cool. Because I honestly, I learned something about Irish people and their relationship to Native people. When the Irish guy first came into this scene, he was like, "Oh, I was running away from these people because I thought I could trust them," and it turns out the people that he was running away from was Native American, and I was like, I didn't really think about it, but then afterwards I was watching videos, people talking about how I think back in the days there were a relationship between Irish people and Native American, or I think it's just Native people in general, and how they were either helping each other out or they were very closely like associated with one another. So it was really interesting, that detail of him saying that I thought I could trust them, instead of them chasing him down, because obviously he's a vampire, obviously he would be chased down.
Yeah, because he's a vampire. He sucks people's blood.
Right, but still, regardless, just like one line like that, and people immediately clicks in a lot of people's brain. It was so interesting. It was really, really cool. Which is why I think clever script writing is also difficult to achieve, because how do you write something that people just immediately goes with context and they just immediately goes, yeah, I completely understand what you're trying to reference at. That's really hard to do. Yeah.
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 I agree.
Yeah.
The depth of that movie and the amount of knowledge it has of how people acted, you know, 80 years ago. It's a lot. It's like boundless. There's so much. The more you look at it, the more you learn.
Yeah.
It's really amazing.
Yeah.
That's how you do a period piece.
Exactly.
So many period pieces just completely dumb down the way society worked in whatever time they're capturing. And I feel like the further back you go, the more like the more inaccurate it gets. But but so many films that look at like that time, that like between like World War One, World War Two, like rural America. It's like so many of them are like either like so many of them are like a fantasy, whereas this one was like realistic, even though it was a fantasy. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like looking at comparing this to something like I don't know, To Kill a Mockingbird, for example, because that takes place in like a similar era, similar kind of town, but To Kill a Mockingbird, I feel like kind of idealizes it a little
Mm.
bit. Because even though the book is against like racial discrimination, it still portrays the majority of like white people in this town as like wanting to do the right thing or whatever. Whereas Sinners looks at it objectively and is like, this is how people were.
exactly.
Most people played a role in this system of segregation, and it was just part
Exactly.
of life. Like it wasn't there's no romanticization for it. The only romanticization is of the community of like juke joints and like
Exactly.
music.
Yeah.
The society isn't idealized, the music is.
Exactly. I think it's so beautiful you brought that up because it's very clear how much the characters, for example, Sammy, the main character, he was like, I love blues. I love music. I love playing my guitar. It's so because, blues was such a big part of the African American culture,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think that it's just so much embedded in the film that it has taken us like this long just to talk about like not even like I barely think that we scratched the surface of it because there's so much embedded to it. But I really love specifically that part where there's this one character that was talking to Sammy. I think his character Delta Slim, played by
Oh, is that the old like the
yeah,
big
yeah,
dude? Yeah, I
yeah,
remember
yeah.
him.
And he was like blues was not enforced on us like religion is. We brought
Yeah.
this with us here. And that single line was I think that was so powerful. Because, with religion, I mean, I have opinions about religion that I don't think this is a suitable episode to talk about.
Suitable for him.
Right, yeah. But I honestly like when I see characters talking about religion in a way that sort of like not acknowledging, but sort of like giving this context that maybe it was forced because it was also a form of colonization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Of course, yeah. Back then, like I remember in Vietnamese history, the French and I think it was the French or I don't think it was American, but I think primarily it was the French. They try to force Christianity onto our people as a way to, sort of like have this uniform belief in our system so that they can colonize us. And, sort of having a character sort of like calling that out was such a big moment. And it's also to say that, blues music is ours because back then, I don't think that African American people can own that much stuff. As in, like, having ownership over land or buying a house or anything like that.
There are a lot of restrictions, and
Yeah.
outside of a couple like super wealthy families in like northern states, there were a lot of like systemic factors that were against black people having like property. Like for example, there was in like the 40s going into the 50s when they were building like freeways in America, like highways, they chose to build them through areas that were majority black and then demolish people's houses and be like, well, the government's demolishing your house. You can't really do anything about it. Sorry. And going back to even before that in the 1930s, which is around when this movie took place, in places like Chicago, when they first started building public housing, they would demolish parts of primarily black neighborhoods for public housing and then say, okay, well, now that we've demolished your house, you have to live in the government's house under the government's rules. So it was just a lot of methods like that. But going to like the South where like this movie took place, it wasn't government action so much as just outright violence.
Yeah.
Like people like the Klan, if you were a black person who owned property or who was trying to like start like a business, people like that would just come after you.
Exactly. Then that's what happens at the end of Sinners, right? The guy that sold the juke joint place to the brothers literally just came in with his men with guns.
Yeah, he was gonna just kill them and take it back for himself.
Exactly, yeah. So it's because that the fact that Delta Slim basically just said that blues music is basically the only thing that they can't take away from us.
Yeah.
That is so, again, such amazing writing, and the message is so clear. Like, you can't deny stuff like that.
No,
because
it's true. It's
Yeah.
true. It can't be taken.
Yeah.
It's something that is wholly and fundamentally not able to be colonized.
Exactly, because they created it. It's one of a very prominent part in the culture, and still is.
Mhm.
I think that it's so great. I mean, I have never learned so much about like music history, and I think that's just great. I think it's just amazing.
Mhm.
But yeah, are there any thoughts that you want
Any
to?
closing thoughts?
Any closing thoughts?
Haley Steinfeld's a baddie.
Yeah. She
That's,
is.
That's my I get why the Miles Morales voice actor was like bugging. Like I'm not saying I condone. I just understand. you know?
Right. But that's so funny of what he's doing. I'm just like, dude, just do the voice acting. We need the film.
If he keeps screwing around, we're not gonna get a third one.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Like, you need to lock in. Like,
Lock
stop.
in.
She's married. Like, let her go.
She's
Release
married
her.
to who's she married to again?
I think it's like one of the Is it?
I was gonna say she's married to Josh Allen, right?
Yeah.
Because she was in wasn't she in Superman too? Or am I thinking of somebody else?
I think you're thinking of somebody else.
I'm thinking some. Okay, I was gonna say somebody's married to Josh Allen, who's the quarterback for the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah,
who's
pretty
like a
sure.
whoever his wife is, who's also an actress. She plays Lois in the new Superman, and there's like a scene from behind the scenes where she's like kissing the actor for Superman, and everyone's like, "Oh, Josh Allen, buddy."
Well, isn't Josh Allen Haley Stefan? Yeah. So Josh Allen is married to Haley Stefan, and then
Haley Steinfeld.
Stefan. Oh my God, Steinfeld. And then Superman, right? The new
Yeah, who
Superman.
plays
Let me-
Lois? I might be confusing her with somebody else.
Okay, let's see. Lois Lane, actress, Superman, 2025. Rachel.
Oh, Brosnahan.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Her spouse is Jason Raff. I don't know who that is.
Oh, dang. Okay.
This guy.
Oh, okay.
That's her. Yeah.
Well, that's I must have gotten that mixed up. Okay, well, I remember in that case when Sinners came out, I saw a bunch of memes about like Josh Allen having to watch the scene with Haley Steinfeld and Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah. No, that's so real.
Oh,
But,
well.
Yeah. But so basically, my closing thought would be Sinners is amazing.
Sinners is a great movie.
Sinners is beautiful. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me on my episode today, Thomas.
Thanks for having me.
As always, check out Thomas' show.
Yes, Thomas's Classic 10s at 5 every Monday.
Yes.
Every Monday. Be there.
Yes.
I
yes.
swear to God.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. But as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.